Hi guys, Kemi Badenoch, the Tory leader, has been attempting and failing to navigate the minefield that is UK politics after her party was kicked out at the last election. Now, while there are probably no good issues for the Tories to talk about, there are certainly ones that they should run a mile from. Immigration being one of them. Every time they're asked a question about it, they end up handing over voters to Nigel Farage and Reform, as they can't win this battle. However, it seems Priti Patel, the former Home Secretary, is trying something different. Talk up immigration in a strange and unusual way. She appeared on the Harry Cole show, where her response to his question about rising immigration numbers was quite bizarre, especially for a Tory. Have a listen.
But there's also been some downsides since.
Tell me.
Well, let's have a look at the graph. Net migration.
Yeah.
Look at that. That was on your watch. Where exactly on that graph were you the Home Secretary in charge of Britain?
So, well, we should first of all recognise that we ended free movement.
Yeah, you ended free movement for Europeans and you threw the borders open to the rest of the world, and the graph...
We always said that in Brexit, Harry.
No, come on. That is not fair.
So,
you did not say we're going to hit 1.2 million net migration.
No, we did not say that.
We're going to allow 1.2 million people into the country.
So let me finish.
In 1 year.
So let me finish. Brightest and the best come into our country. People on skilled work routes and visas.
Is that the brightest
We've
and the best?
always said, well, look at it's legal migration, Harry. It's legal. People who come here and work and contribute to our economy.
Okay, so she mentioned something here. She mentioned Brexit, or Brexit was raised here. You have to understand that there were two stages of Brexit. So there was the referendum, and then there was the actual leaving of the European Union. Now, in the run-up to the Brexit referendum, people like Priti Patel and the Brexiteers were saying we're going to bring down immigration. And when they were asked, well, who's going to do the jobs? They said, well, British people will do the jobs. That was before the referendum. After the referendum, they realised, actually, we're not going to be able to fill these jobs with British people. We're not going to pay people more. We're not going to train them up. We're going to have to rely on foreign workers. We can't fill these job losses, these vacancies, with British people. So they had to start bringing people in from abroad, and they used a visa system. So Priti Patel is not being completely honest here. Before the referendum, it was all, we're going to bring down immigration. After the referendum, and as the UK was leaving the European Union, they realised, actually, we need to bring people in, but we have to show that we're controlling the border. And that's why they went down the visa road. But there was a clash, of course, within the cabinet. You had ministers, for example, from the Department of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, who was representing agriculture, who was crying out for visas, crying out for a more flexible immigration policy. And you had people like Priti Patel who were saying, no, we have to be tough.
Brightest and the best. Look at the points-based immigration system. For the first time ever, Harry, let me give you some facts.
Go on.
For the first time ever, we have a points-based immigration system, counting people in and out. You can turn off the immigration system at any stage in terms of what our economy needs. And
okay, the UK could control its border before it left the European Union. There were deportations taking place of European citizens from Britain when the UK was still a member of the European Union. This is a fantasy. When the Conservatives and Brexiteers talk about, well, we needed to leave to control our border. No, that's absolutely false.
Doesn't need. The government should have done more, absolutely, on skills and training Brits.
Did every one of those 1.2 million people that flooded into the country in the last 3 years?
I love this argument. We should have done more. You were in charge. Why didn't you put pressure on the cabinet and Boris Johnson, your Prime Minister at the time? Why didn't you put pressure on them to train up people, to pay higher wages? No, because that's against the Tory ethos. That's against the Tory thinking. We're not going to pay people higher wages because that's going to make it more expensive for businesses. We're not going to train people up because that's spending public money on the public. We don't do that. We funnel money into the pockets of the private sector.
3 years. Did they need to come here?
So, what would you say to the Ukrainians that are in our country?
That's 300,000.
It is now
tops.
300. What would you say to the BNOs? What would you say also to people that came here through
Come on, you're
conflict and
fudging
all
the
rest of
numbers
it?
there.
I'm not fudging the numbers. I'm telling you now.
300,000 Ukrainians on a temporary fix is not 1.2 million people coming to this country to take jobs that you promised were going to go to sun readers and people who voted
Those
for Brexit.
are skilled visas, Harry. We made it quite clear. These are people that work, skilled visa routes, all the skills in terms of NHS.
She's not been honest again. So she's talking about, people are coming in via the visa route, but people were also bringing dependents with them. And I've mentioned before why that was the case. So while she's technically right, a lot of people were coming in via the visa system. A lot of people were coming in as dependents along with those who are coming in with the visa system. So, and you need to actually encourage that, because of course, when it comes to the NHS and social care, there aren't enough workers. You need to bring people in. And if you put up barriers to them, saying you're not allowed to bring your family with you, or your kids, or your partner, or whatever, then you're going to discourage these people from coming to Britain when you actually need them.
People that are working in our National Health Service, we had something called a pandemic. You remember health and social care visas as well. I'm not fine with it. I haven't said that.
Would you like to apologise to all the people that voted Brexit for the fact that you misled them and saying we're going to take back control of our borders, and then you threw them open and let in millions of people?
That is totally distortionary, and that's not true. And to be quite frank, we made it quite clear it'd be people from the rest of the world, people with skills, based on our economy. And I think people should apologise for those who are saying that actually...
You would like an apology?
People in the pandemic came here, health and social care visas. What would have happened to our NHS? Are we now saying, are you and others saying we don't need those people in our NHS?
That was an unusual twist, wasn't it? So Priti Patel is actually standing up for migrants, standing up for people who have come to Britain to work in the NHS and social care. I wasn't expecting that from Priti Patel. Now, I don't know whether she actually believes this, or she's actually deciding, look, we can't fight Reform UK on immigration in the way that we have been. We have to try another approach. Now, once again, I don't know if this is tactical or this is Priti Patel's actual thinking. But if the Conservatives want to deal with Reform UK and try and reduce their impact, they need to try another approach. And saying, look, immigrants are actually valuable to society. Immigrants actually add to our communities. We need these people. That's actually a pretty strong argument. And what you could do is you could point out that, look, the NHS and social care are understaffed at the moment. Do we want people to look after our elderly people as the population gets older? Do we want doctors and nurses working in the NHS who are looking after us? Yes or no? That has to be the question. So once again, it was an unusual angle to take at the very end of this interview. She was talking a lot of tripe, but towards the end, well, I was a bit surprised. What about you?